سبحان الله عدد ما خلق في الأرض سبحان الله عدد ما بين ذلك.
Prophet ﷺ agreed with Ubay ibn Ka'b that indeed the greatest ayah in the entire Quran is Ayat Al-Kursi. أعظم آية في كتاب الله عز وجل. This one verse has more than 20 of Allah's names and attributes, and in fact the whole verse from beginning to end is nothing other than the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is because of this that this verse is the greatest verse in the Quran. If you recite Ayat Al-Kursi, then nothing will harm you. No jinn, no waswas, no evil, nothing will harm you for the entire night. Allah will send an angel down to protect you. So we learn from this hadith that before we go to sleep, we need to recite Ayat Al-Kursi every single night. Our Prophet ﷺ, before going to bed, he would recite Ayat Al-Kursi on himself. Right? So Ayat Al-Kursi is the greatest ayah in the book of Allah. Ayat Al-Kursi is to be recited every night. In one hadith, we learn also, the Prophet ﷺ said, Sunan al-Nisa, he said that Ayat Al-Kursi should be recited in the morning and the evening. We call them the adhkar of the sabah and masa. There were certain adhkar the Prophet ﷺ would do in the morning anytime, basically from Fajr to Dhuhr. And then there were other adhkar he would do in the evening, basically from Asr to Maghrib, anytime. He would just do these adhkar. So Ayatul Kursi was of those that he would recite it twice in the morning and evening. And in one other hadith reported in Musnad Imam Ahmad that it is also authentic, our Prophet ﷺ said that Man qara'a Ayatul Kursi dubura kulli salatin, that whoever recited Ayatul Kursi after every single salah, lam yamna'hu min dukhul al-jannati illa al-maut. The only thing preventing him from entering Jannah is his own death. This is one of the most beautiful ahadith that I want you all to memorize and then act upon, beginning from today. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Whoever recites Ayatul Kursi after every single fard salah. So before you stand up and you finish your fard salah, before you go to your worldly affairs, go back home, go to your work, you stay seated, you do the adhkar, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, you do all of that. When you finish all of that, then you recite Ayatul Kursi. And if you make this a habit and a routine, what did our Prophet ﷺ say? Nothing will prevent a person from entering Jannah except his own death. Meaning, you are a person of Jannah if you recite Ayatul Kursi after every of the 5 salawat, which of course means you better be praying 5 times a day. That's understood in the hadith, right? You must be praying 5 times a day, and then you recite Ayatul Kursi after every single salah. Now, why? What is so special about this Ayatul Kursi? It is but one ayah. It is 1/3 of a page. And there are so many other verses of the Quran. The Quran has over 6,000 something verses. Why does this verse stand out so much? The response is very simple. It is because the verse deals with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His names and attributes. And always the most majestic verses and the most blessed verses in the Quran are the verses that talk about Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because nothing is more grandiose to discuss, more majestic to discuss, more beautiful to discuss than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no topic that is more worthy of being talked about and praised other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the best verses in the Quran are those verses that praise Allah. And the best surah in the Quran is the surah that is nothing but a praise and description of Allah, and that is Surah Al-Ikhlas. The Prophet ﷺ said, who amongst you would want to read 1/3 of the Quran every night? The Sahaba said, who can manage this, O Messenger of Allah? Who can read 10 juz a night? So he said, I will tell you a surah. If you read it, you will get 1/3 of the Quran. That is Surah Al-Ikhlas. Why is Surah Al-Ikhlas? Why is Ayat Al-Kursi so blessed and holy? Because the content of these ayat and surahs is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the names and attributes of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. I remind myself and all of you that we should be repeating and memorizing this verse and repeating it day and night, morning and evening, and after the end of every single salah.
إني ألقى الإناس في صومي وصلاتي ودعائي للرحمن وجميع الطاعات. إني ألقى الإناس في صومي وصلاتي وجميع الطاعات